I didn't notice it at first. The inscription. The gold band shimmered like any ordinary ring. It was delicate, simple, and yet, something about it felt wrong. It wasn't the weight of it on my finger. It wasn't the way it fit perfectly, as if made for me. No, it was what came after, the moment I looked closer and saw the name engraved on the inside. Forever yours, Elise. But my name isn't Elise, and my fiancé had never mentioned anyone by that name. He said it was custom-made. He said he picked every detail for me. So who the hell is Elise? And why, when I asked him that question, did he freeze like I'd struck him? People say there's always a moment when you know, not just suspect, but know that something is deeply, irreparably wrong. Mine came in the dead of night, for days before our wedding. I was alone in the bedroom, scrolling through old photos on his cloud account, looking for the engagement picture he said he'd accidentally deleted. Instead, I found a folder, locked but not secure enough. It had her name, Elise, and inside, photos, letters, a scanned marriage certificate, a grainy ultrasound image, a photo of her in a white dress, and one final image that stole the breath from my lungs. My fiancé, smiling, holding her hand, wearing the exact ring he just gave me. My chest tightened as if the room had lost all air. I kept blinking, hoping the image would change, hoping it was a glitch. But the date in the corner didn't lie, March 12, 2019. 2 years before we even met. So why had he said I was his first engagement? Why did he say he'd never been in love before me? Why had he lied? I slammed the laptop shut, but the questions echoed louder than the silence. Had he been married? Who was Elise? And where is she now? The next morning I asked him again, softly, calmly, pretending I hadn't seen anything. Do you believe in soulmates? He smiled, leaned in, kissed my hand. You're the only one I've ever believed in. The lie was so smooth it scared me more than the truth. I wanted to scream. Then who is Elise? Why does this ring belong to her? But I didn't, because something told me to wait, to keep pretending, to watch him closer. That night I searched the ring box again. Tucked beneath the velvet lining, I found it, a tiny slip of folded paper, worn but still legible. She won't stop until she gets it back. My hands began to shake. The handwriting wasn't his. It wasn't mine. And then a noise from downstairs, the sound of the front door unlocking, even though I never heard him leave. He was already home. So who just came in? The lock turned slowly, too slow for someone with a key. I froze where I stood, crouched beside the open ring box, the tiny note still clenched between my fingers. My heart slammed against my ribs. He was upstairs, asleep, or at least, that's where he said he was. Then who was at the door? I didn't breathe, didn't blink. The air felt thick, like I was underwater. The door opened. I heard nothing but the soft shuffle of feet. No voice, no call of my name, just footsteps, careful, measured, too cautious for comfort. I crept to the bedroom doorway and pressed myself against the wall, barely daring to peek down the hallway. I could see the entryway mirror, just the corner of it. But no reflection. Whoever it was, wasn't standing where they could be seen. Unless they knew that. Unless they didn't want to be seen. I slipped back into the room and closed the door slowly. No sound. He was in bed on his side, facing the wall. Or pretending to be. Ryan. I whispered. Low. He didn't stir. I tried again. A little louder. Ryan. Someone's downstairs. He groaned, rolled over, eyes half closed. Wah, what time is it? He looked confused. Or he acted like it. But his eyes darted toward the door before I even explained. He already knew. We moved together silently to the top of the stairs. Each creak of the wood was deafening. And then, the footsteps were gone. No door slammed. No footsteps leaving. Just gone. We stood there for a full minute, listening. I could feel his breath behind me, shallow and tight. I didn't hear anything, he finally said. But his voice was flat, guarded. I turned to him, holding up the note. This was under the ring box. His expression didn't change, not even a flicker of confusion. "Did you write it?" I asked. He hesitated, just for a second. "But enough." "No, of course not." I stared at him, and for the first time, I noticed something. The faint outline of a scar on his temple. Barely visible unless you were this close. I'd never seen it before, and yet it looked old. "How did you get that scar?" He blinked, surprised, touched his head instinctively. "Car accident. Years ago." His voice was too fast, too clean. Later that night, I watched him sleep. His chest rose and fell in steady rhythm. But I couldn't relax. Not with the note. Not with the photos. Not with that ring still burning a hole in my hand. I opened my phone and searched for one word. Elise. Then narrowed it down to marriages in our county. My blood ran cold. Elise Marin Carter. Married. To him. March 2019. Same date as the photo. Same last name he now uses. But under status, there was something else. Widowed. April 2020. Just 1 year after their wedding. No obituary. No cause of death. Nothing. The next morning, I confronted him. "I know about Elise," I said. He dropped his coffee cup. Shards scattered across the tile. He didn't ask how I knew. He just stared at me, and then said something that made the blood drain from my face. "I thought I'd buried this." His voice cracked. "I never meant for her to come back." "Come back? What does that mean?" I whispered. "She's dead. Isn't she?" He didn't answer, just looked at me with eyes that suddenly felt unfamiliar. "She never existed," he finally said. "But the ring always finds its way back." I backed away. The room felt warped. Unreal. I clutched the ring in my palm, and for a second it felt hot, like it was burning through my skin. I ran upstairs, locked the bedroom door, and opened the laptop again. Typed in Elise Marin Carter obituary. Still nothing. But then I tried reverse image search using one of the photos. It matched to a missing persons case. Not from here. Not from this state. Elise Marin Carter, missing since 2020. Never declared dead. No funeral. No body. Just gone. So why was there a marriage certificate? Why did he say she was dead? And what did he mean by the ring finding its way back? As I scrolled through the search results, a name popped up. A forum. A thread titled, "I wore her ring too, until I saw her in the mirror." My hands trembled. I clicked, and there, in the first line of the post, her name was Elise, and I thought she was only a memory, until I saw her standing at the end of my bed, wearing my face. At first, I thought it was some kind of prank. The forum post had no author name, no profile photo, just the words that burrowed straight into my spine. "I wore her ring too, until I saw her in the mirror." The post had been made 2 years ago, and the details weren't just similar. They were identical. The ring, the inscription, the date of the wedding, the sudden change in the man's behavior. But what shattered me most was the last paragraph. He said she never existed, but every time I tried to take off the ring, I'd hear her voice. Not from a dream, from the mirror. I stared at my reflection now, the gold band still on my finger. I was afraid to take it off, afraid to leave it on, because deep in my gut, I felt it too, that sense of being watched. From the inside, I copied the username and ran a background search. The forum servers were too old, almost defunct, but someone had archived part of it linked to a blog. The blog was titled, Elise Lives. The first post was just a single sentence. "I thought I was engaged, but I was really just the next in line." What did that even mean? Next in line for what? I looked up from the screen and saw Ryan standing in the doorway. He hadn't knocked, hadn't said a word, just stared at me, his jaw tight, lips drawn thin. But it was his eyes that scared me. They were red, not bloodshot, glowing, like there was something behind them that didn't belong. "What are you reading?" he asked softly, but there was no curiosity in his voice, only dread. I closed the laptop slowly. Nothing important. He stepped into the room. One step, Then another. "I told you," he whispered. "You shouldn't wear the ring." My hand flew to it, still tight on my finger, still warm. "What's happening, Ryan? Just tell me the truth." My voice cracked. He knelt in front of me, his hands trembling now. I tried to stop it. I really did. Elise, she wasn't just a woman. She was. He stopped, bit his lip hard enough to draw blood, then whispered, "She was a choice I can't undo." I yanked the ring off, or tried to. It wouldn't budge. I twisted, pulled, skin raw, but it stayed, like it had melted into me. And then the air changed. The light dimmed. Even though the bulbs above didn't flicker, the entire room seemed darker. "Don't fight her," Ryan said. "She only gets stronger when you try to run." His voice, it wasn't just him anymore. It sounded layered, his tone underneath a whisper that wasn't his, like someone else was speaking through him. I stood up, shoving him back. "Tell me what happened to Elise." My voice wasn't steady, but my anger gave it weight. He looked up at me, eyes wide, and finally he spoke. "She was my wife, but not like you think. We didn't meet. She chose me." "What does that mean?" I snapped. He swallowed hard. "She wasn't born. Not really. She came from somewhere else. She finds someone, a man. She wears their life like a mask. Then when she's done, she moves on, leaves behind something small. Token. The ring." I backed toward the door, but he didn't follow. "She told me to give it to someone new," he said. His voice broke. "And I was weak. I loved you, but I was weak." My breath caught. "You used me?" Tears welled in his eyes. "I thought I could stop it. If I really loved you, maybe she wouldn't come. But she did." I whispered. The ring burned. My vision blurred. And for a second, just a second, I saw her. Behind me, in the mirror. Not a ghost. Not a shadow. Me. But not me. Her face was identical. But her eyes, they were empty. And her lips moved. But I heard no sound. I ran. Out of the room. Out of the house. I don't remember how I made it to the car. But my hands were shaking as I turned the key. And the engine wouldn't start. I looked up and saw something on the windshield. A word written in condensation from the inside. "Stay." I screamed. Looked to the passenger seat. And in the reflection of the window, she was smiling. I didn't look away. Not at first. I thought maybe if I stared long enough, the reflection would blur, or fade, or prove me wrong. But it didn't. She stared back at me. Same jawline. Same lips. Same hair tucked behind the ear, except hers was too perfect. Like a replica with no emotion behind it. Her smile didn't reach her eyes, because her eyes weren't mine. They were black, void-like, endless. I blinked, and she was gone. Just my reflection again. Shaky, terrified, real. Or was it? The message on the windshield had vanished too. No more stay smeared in the fog. No condensation. Just cold glass. The engine coughed, stuttered, then finally roared to life. I hit the gas. Didn't know where I was going. Only that I had to be away from him. From that house. From the mirror. From her. Half an hour later, I pulled into the parking lot of a roadside motel. Cheap. Deserted. Anonymous. I didn't pack anything. I left my phone in the car. I didn't care. I needed answers. Or at least a place to think. The clerk didn't even ask my name. Just slid the key across the counter and muttered, "Room 5. Ice machine's broken." Perfect. Inside the room, the first thing I did was cover the mirror with a bath towel. The second was sit on the edge of the bed and stare at my hand. The ring. Still there. Still warm. And now, I swear I could hear it. Ticking. Not like a clock. More like a pulse. But not mine. The blog post haunted me. The phrase, "I thought I was engaged, but I was really just the next in line." How many had come before me? How many wore this ring and vanished? Was it cursed? Possessed? Or something worse? A beacon? I searched the motel Wi-Fi for anything linked to Elise Marin Carter. This time, I narrowed the location to multiple states. I dug deeper. Forums. Obscure police records. archived Reddit threads. And then I found it. A thread titled, "My brother's fiancée disappeared days before the wedding. She had the same ring." The post was old, 2017, but it described everything. A man proposed. The woman accepted. Shortly after, she began seeing things, feeling watched. And then she started talking in her sleep, in a voice that wasn't hers. The last entry from the brother read, "She said a name over and over again in her sleep. Elise." Then, she vanished. No signs. No struggle. Just gone. And my brother? He swears he never proposed to anyone. I ran to the bathroom, tore the towel off the mirror, and stared at my reflection. My lips were trembling. My eyes were puffy. But it was me. Still me. I tried the ring again. Pulled. Twisted. Nothing. It was as if my skin had grown over it. And then, the light flickered. Twice. Then again. I stepped back. And in the mirror, her face phased through mine. Not a full transformation. Just a glitch. Like something testing the waters. I screamed. Threw the bar of soap at the mirror. Cracked just slightly. And she smiled through it. I fell to the floor. Chest heaving. Heart thundering. I held my hand up and screamed, "What do you want from me?" Silence. And then, faintly, from the other side of the cracked glass. To finish what we started. There was knocking at the door. 3 short taps. A pause. Then 2 more. I froze. That rhythm. It was exactly the same as I'd heard in the forum story. I crept to the door. Pressed my eye to the peephole. No one. Then I looked down. And there it was. A photograph. Faded. Torn. A wedding photo. Ryan, standing at an altar. And next to him, me. But it wasn't from our wedding. Because we hadn't gotten married yet. And I never wore that dress. And in the picture, I wasn't smiling. I was crying. I stared at the photo, hands trembling. My fingers brushed the edges, afraid it might disappear if I blinked. It was old. The paper yellowed, edges torn, but the image, too real to deny. Ryan, in a black suit. Me, no, someone wearing my face. In a long lace gown I'd never seen before. Eyes swollen, mascara running, tears streaking down her face. But what chilled me most was the inscription on the back. "We always find our way back to each other, E." I stumbled back into the motel room, door slamming shut behind me. I locked it, bolted it, shoved the desk in front of it with shaking arms. None of this made sense. And yet, it did. Somehow, in a place I hadn't wanted to look. The dreams, the déjà vu, the flashes of memories I never lived. Like fragments of a life I never agreed to, but one I was living anyway. I pulled my laptop back out, heart still racing. My fingers moved on instinct. I searched for newspaper archives, trying every variation of Elise Marin Carter. Cross-referenced dates, locations, engagements. And there it was. An article buried in a local newsletter from a town across the state, dated 2001. Bride vanishes before wedding. Groom admitted for psychiatric evaluation. I clicked. The bride's name, Elise Marin Carter. The groom's name? Not Ryan. Lucas R. Sterling. But his face. It was Ryan. Younger. Hair longer. But the same eyes. The same dimple on the left cheek. The same scar on the temple, that scar I thought was from a car accident. My blood went cold. He hadn't lied about the accident. Just about when it happened. Because the article described it perfectly. The groom sustained a head injury after a violent outburst at the altar, claiming his bride wasn't who she said she was. They never found Elise. And Lucas, Ryan, was released a year later. A new name, a new life, a new target. Me. Was he a victim or her accomplice? I needed answers. Real ones. From someone who had nothing to lose. So I went back to the forum. Found the original poster who mentioned the ring. Dug deeper. Eventually, through a maze of dead links and cached pages, I found her email. I typed, "My name is Ava. I'm wearing her ring. I saw her in the mirror. And I think I'm next." I didn't expect a reply. Not so quickly. But within minutes, a response came. "You're not next. You're already in. Meet me. Midnight. 53 Rose Hill Cemetery. No explanation. No signature. Just coordinates to a place no sane person would go alone. But I wasn't sane anymore, was I? The cemetery sat on the edge of a town I didn't recognize. Mist curled over the crumbling gates. No cars. No people. No lights. But when I stepped through the arch, my ring began to glow. Dimly. Like a pulse. She was near. I followed the path by flashlight. The silence was suffocating. Every step felt heavier than the last. Then, a figure, standing between two gravestones, cloaked, still. I stepped closer, heart hammering. Are you the one who emailed me? She didn't turn right away. But when she did, my knees buckled. She had no face, just a blur, like static, like a TV stuck between channels. But I knew, deep in my bones, this was Elise. I wore it too, her voice crackled, like a whisper echoing from a tunnel that had no end. No matter how many times they try to bury me, I return, through the ring, through the vow. I tried to speak but couldn't. The words got stuck in my throat. I didn't die. I fractured, she said. Her voice turned bitter, almost jealous. He promised forever. But forever is a long, lonely thing. She stepped closer, and I could feel the weight of her, like gravity bending wrong. You've already begun the change. Haven't you felt it? The memories that aren't yours. The phrases you never said, yet no. I shook my head violently. No, I'm not you. I'll never be you. She smiled. Then why do you cry in your sleep like I did? Her head tilted. Why do you keep writing her name in your journal? Even though you don't remember doing it. I gasped. Because I had. Page after page. Dozens of them. Scrawled over nights I thought I'd slept through. Elise. 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 She reached out her hand. Palm open. Fingers twitching. Give it back, she whispered. The ring doesn't belong to the living. I staggered back. But the ring pulsed hotter. My vision blurred. And suddenly, I was back in the motel room, lying on the floor, heart pounding. The mirror in front of me. My reflection looked back. Only this time, I wasn't blinking. I wasn't blinking. I stood frozen in front of the mirror, and my reflection. She just stared. Not at me. Through me. Her head tilted slightly. Mouth parted. Lips twitching with some silent joke I didn't understand. But her eyes, those hollow, endless eyes, never moved. Not even once. It wasn't like before. This wasn't just Elise showing herself. This was something else. Something deeper. She wasn't on the other side anymore. I dropped to the floor, gasping for air, like something inside me had been squeezed, stretched, and stitched into someone else's frame. My hands trembled as I crawled backward, away from the mirror. But the reflection, it followed. I moved left. She moved late, like a bad echo, lagged, corrupted, and then her lips moved. No sound. So I read them. It's already begun. My fingers clawed at the ring again, pulled until my skin tore, until the bone beneath ached. Still, it didn't move, pulled back. And in that moment I saw it flash. A memory that didn't belong to me. A church. White lace. A man at the altar. Tears streaming down my face. No, her face. A whisper behind me. Say yes, or we both stay. I jolted out of it, heart slamming against my ribs. I knew what it was now. Elise wasn't possessing me. She was rewriting me. One memory at a time. The next hour was a blur of half-mad desperation. I tore through my bag, dumped my purse on the floor, searching for anything that could tell me who I still was. My ID still said Ava Whitmore. My voice recorder still had my recent memos, grocery lists, voice notes to Ryan, silly things I barely remembered recording. But then, I pressed play on the last file, and what came out wasn't my voice. It was hers. If you find this before the merge is complete, don't fight. The more you resist, the faster I sink in. Let me finish the vows. Let me come home. I dropped the device like it burned me. What vows? What home? This wasn't hers. This was mine. And yet, I couldn't deny what was happening. Because when I picked up my phone to call my sister, her contact wasn't there. Neither was my mother's, or my boss, or the dozens of people I knew I had texted in the past week. All gone. In their place. RC. Unknown caller. Elise drafts. I opened the draft messages. Tell the officiant not to mention death. The ring fits her better than it ever did me. He's still lying. But not for long. Every sentence was written from her voice, from her mind, but they were in my phone, saved under my account. I looked at the calendar. A single event remained. Tomorrow. Ceremony. Midnight. Wear the dress. I opened my suitcase. I didn't remember packing one, but there it was. A white dress, the exact one from the photograph, stained slightly at the hem, and smelling faintly of soil. Not perfume. Dirt, like something that had been buried. My scream got stuck in my throat. I stumbled back, hit the wall, slid to the floor. I needed help. Someone who knew me. Someone from before. But with every contact gone, only one option remained. I called Ryan. He answered on the first ring. Ava, he said, but the way he said it like it wasn't really my name. More like a placeholder. You need to come back, he said. His voice was soft, hollow, like he'd been crying, or preparing to. She's getting stronger. If you don't finish the vows, she'll stay half of you. Forever. I drove. Didn't remember starting the car. Didn't remember turning onto the right streets. But my hands moved. My eyes didn't blink. The world passed like a shadow, and the house came into view, lit only by candles in the windows, dark beyond reason. A lace veil hung on the front door, the same veil from the photo. The front door creaked open on its own. Inside, the hallway was lined with old wedding photos, each one a different bride, each one me, or Elise, or whoever came before. And at the very end of the hall, a mirror, covered in lace, but I could already feel her behind it, waiting. Ryan stood in the center of the living room, wearing a suit, eyes glassy, tears streaming freely now. I'm sorry, he whispered. I didn't know what she was until after you said yes. I never said yes, I shouted. But even as I said it, a voice echoed in my mind. Yes, yes, I do. He stepped toward me, placed a hand on my shoulder. I tried to love you enough to break the cycle, but no one ever does. He handed me a piece of paper. A single sentence scrawled in red ink. You said yes the moment you wore her ring. I looked down at my hand. The ring was gone, but I still felt it, burning, inside. The ring was gone, but the burning stayed, deep under the skin like a phantom limb. I kept looking at my hand, flipping it over, clawing at the finger it once wrapped, but there was nothing, not even an indent, no mark, no scar. No sign it had ever been there. And yet, I felt it, still circling me like a leash, still whispering in the silence. You said yes the moment you wore her ring. Ryan's voice echoed in my mind. The way his hand trembled as he handed me the note. The hollow look in his eyes, like he hadn't slept in weeks, maybe longer. I stepped back. The veil hanging over the mirror twitched, but there was no breeze. Why did you bring me back here? I asked. My voice was low but not by choice. It was as if the house itself was swallowing the sound. He didn't answer, just looked at me, and then past me. I followed his gaze, to the grand piano in the corner, where another piece of paper lay, folded, aged, stained at the corner with something dark. I picked it up. It was a vow, handwritten. I give you myself, mind, soul, and memory. I give you my name, my skin, my reflection. In this vow we bind. In this bond we remain. I read it aloud. Something in the house groaned, like it exhaled, and the lights, dim as they were, flickered again. Then the lace on the mirror slowly slid to the floor. I turned toward the mirror, and she was waiting, not behind it, in it, not as a ghost this time, not as a flickering shadow, as me, but perfected, hair pinned back in soft waves, cheeks flushed with rose, lips curled into a knowing, patient smile. She wore the dress. That dress. White with lace sleeves and a neckline I'd never seen before. But my body remembered it. And worst of all, her hands were folded over her stomach, cradling something small, something moving. I reached for the mirror, fingertips hovering just above the glass. She did the same. Only when I stopped, she didn't. Her hand kept going. Pushed through. The glass didn't break. Didn't ripple. Just gave way. Like a veil between two worlds had thinned too far. I stumbled back. Why me? I choked. Why any of us? She tilted her head, eyes soft, almost sad. Then she spoke. For the first time, in my voice. Because we're the ones who almost got away. Ryan stepped forward, eyes wide, breath trembling. She's merging, he whispered. You're the last piece. The final bride. When the vows are complete, she won't need to hide in mirrors anymore. She'll be real, I gasped. He nodded. But I never said the vows, I insisted. I never finished anything. He looked at me, this time not as Ryan, not as the man who proposed, but as someone afraid. You didn't have to, he said. The ring is a contract. It listens for intent. And when you said yes to love, when you said yes to forever, she heard you. I backed away from the mirror. But behind me, every door in the house slammed shut. One by one. I was trapped. Again. But this time I wasn't just afraid. I was angry. I turned back to the mirror, fists clenched. She took everything, I said. My memories. My reflection. My voice. Elise smiled. But there was something in her expression now. Cracks. Not physical but emotional. Like even she wasn't fully whole. You gave them freely, she whispered. You wanted to be loved. You wanted a forever. And that's when it hit me. That's what she fed on. Desire. Hope. Surrender. She didn't steal our lives. We gave them to her. Piece by piece. In our loneliness. In our need to be seen. To be chosen. But I wasn't going to be her echo. Not anymore. I ran to the kitchen. Ripped open drawers. Found what I was looking for. A butane lighter. And a bottle of cheap vodka Ryan used for cooking. When I returned to the mirror, she was frowning. The air was thicker now. Like she knew. You can't burn memory, she hissed. You can't destroy what's already inside you. I smiled. And lit the flame. I'm not burning you, I whispered. I'm burning the part of me that still wants you. And I held the flame to the vow sheet. Watched it curl and blacken. Watched her scream. Silent behind the glass. The house groaned again. This time louder. Foundations shuddered. Paint cracked. Ryan screamed from behind. Ava, you'll lose everything. Yourself included. I already did, I said. And I held the flame to the photo. To the veil. To the dress. Everything burned. Until only ashes were left. And then, the mirror shattered. I woke up on the motel floor. Light streaming through the window. The smell of smoke gone. The ring. Gone. Really gone. And when I looked in the mirror this time, it was just me. Tired. Pale. But real. Or so I thought. Until I picked up my phone. And saw a new photo saved in my gallery. Picture of me. Smiling. Wearing the dress. And standing next to a headstone. The name engraved into the stone? Eva Whitmore. Beloved bride. Forever yours, Elise. The photo didn't lie. There I was. Smiling. Happy. Dressed in white. Standing beside a tombstone. With my name carved into it. Eva Whitmore. Beloved bride. Forever yours, Elise. My hands trembled as I clutched the phone. I hadn't taken that photo. I knew I hadn't. But it was there, time-stamped at 3:07 a.m. Last night, while I was unconscious. Or burning her memory. Or, was that even real? The weight in my chest returned. The pressure. Like something coiled beneath my ribs, pressing upward. Like I was choking on something I couldn't see. I stood in front of the motel mirror again. Dared myself to look. My reflection blinked. Moved. Matched me. It was me. But something still felt Off. Not in the glass. In me. The scar. I hadn't had a scar before, but now, just beneath my left eye, the faint line. Pale. Healed. As if someone had cried themselves open. I packed my things and left. Didn't look back. Didn't speak to the motel clerk, who watched me leave like he knew too much, like he'd seen this before. The sky outside was gray, the air heavy, and the wind whispered through the trees in broken syllables. Vengeance. Vows. Return. Or maybe that was just my mind unraveling. I drove, aimlessly, trying to outrun the image in my phone, the scar beneath my skin, the echo of a name that no longer felt separate from mine. Elise. I stopped at a library on the edge of a forgotten town. Not on any map. Just there. The inside smelled like dust and would rot. The silence was thicker than the air. I walked straight to the archives. I wasn't sure what I was looking for, until I saw it. A box. Unlabeled. Taped shut. But sitting on a table, waiting, like it knew I would come. I opened it. Photos spilled out first. Brides. Dozens of them. All different. All identical in posture, expression, dress, and all standing next to the same man. Sometimes younger, sometimes older, but always him. Ryan. Lucas. Or whatever name he'd worn that decade. I flipped the photos over. Some were dated as far back as 1913. Each one marked with a simple phrase. She said yes. The mirror accepted her. Another soul sealed. I kept digging. Found old letters. Handwritten accounts of women who vanished before their wedding day. Each with the same final entry in their journal. The ring won't come off. Then I found it. A leather-bound book, worn at the edges. On the first page, The Brides of Reflection, a lineage of willing hosts. Inside, handwritten pages in different inks, scripts, and languages, but all sharing one central story. Elise, not a woman, not truly, but a presence, an entity, a hunger. She found love stories and entered them, used the cracks of loneliness, desperation, hope, and once the bride accepted the ring, the bond was sealed, not through blood, but through belief. I flipped faster, scanning entry after entry, until one stopped me cold. Ava Whitmore attempted severance. Failed merge. Status. Unresolved. Witness, RC. My breath hitched. She was already in the book. I wasn't running from her. I was already inside her story. But unresolved meant something. It meant the ending wasn't written. Not yet. I slammed the book shut and rushed back to the motel. If she wrote the rules, I had to rewrite the ending. Break the story where it lived. Not in the mirror. Not in Ryan. But in the object that started it all. The ring. I tore through the room again, top to bottom. And there, tucked in the lining of my purse, it waited, cool, silent, innocent looking. But when I touched it, the burn returned, and a scream, sharp, animalistic, echoed in my skull. Not mine, hers. I knew what I had to do. Not burn it, not bury it, but complete it, twist her vow against her. I took the ring, clutched it hard enough to draw blood, and I spoke. I give you my silence, my defiance, my rejection. I give you the mirror's lie, not its truth. This vow is broken. The room cracked. The mirror shattered behind me without warning. Books flew from the desk. And in the center of the chaos, a figure formed. Not Elise. Not me. Both. A hybrid. Skin shifting between two tones. Hair darkening, then lightening. Eyes flickering with rage and fear. You don't get to leave, she growled. You said yes. You meant it. I held up the ring. No, I said. I said yes to love. Not to you. Not to being rewritten. I threw it. Not on the floor, but into the mirror's shards. The second it touched, light exploded from the glass. Blinding. Soundless. Pure. And when it cleared, she was gone. Not shattered. Not screaming. Just erased. Like she'd never been. I woke up days later. In a hospital bed. Ryan was gone. No one had heard of him. Not under that name. Not under any name. The motel? Abandoned. Condemned for years. And the photo in my phone? Deleted. Along with every trace. But the scar beneath my eye remained. A reminder. A whisper. That somewhere, in the folds of forgotten mirrors, she might still be watching. Waiting. For someone else to say yes. They said I collapsed from exhaustion. When I woke up in the hospital, the nurses told me I'd been found lying outside a burned-down house. Barefoot, shivering, clutching a charred wedding invitation to a wedding that never happened. I had no answers, no ring, no sign of Elise, and for a while, it almost felt over. Until I got home, until I opened the box. It was waiting on my kitchen table. Plain brown, no label, no handwriting. No delivery notification. Just there. I opened it, expecting ashes or maybe one of her tricks. But what I found was worse. A photo album, covered in white velvet. Delicate, dustless. The first page? Me. In that dress. That never-worn, cursed thing. But the image wasn't from a memory. I had never posed like that. Never smiled that way. My eyes were hers. I flipped the page. The next photo was a stranger. Young. Black curls. Hazel eyes. Holding a bouquet. Same ring. Same dress. Same distant stare. And under the photo, a name was handwritten in elegant script. Charlotte May Winslow, 1984. Said yes in silence. My hands started shaking. Page after page revealed bride after bride. Different women. Different decades. Same ring. Same gown. Same hollow eyes. Some looked terrified. Some looked resigned. But they all shared one thing. They were no longer themselves. Then I found the last page. Blank. But as I stared, words began writing themselves on the velvet edge. Cassandra Wells, 3 days remaining. I gasped. My breath caught. Cassandra. The woman from the engagement photo someone mailed me. The one I tried to warn. I grabbed my phone. Checked the delivery status. My message had been delivered, but never opened. And underneath her name on the album, another message bled through in red ink. One bride must open the door for the next. That's when the music started. Faint. Classical. A piano playing an old wedding song. Like the kind that drifts in from a neighboring hall during someone else's celebration. But I was alone. The house silent. Yet the music came from inside the walls. Like it had always been there. Like someone hit play on a memory I didn't know I had. I turned in slow circles, trying to locate the sound. And then, clear as day, a voice whispered, from nowhere. The dress has chosen. The ring will return. And the story must continue. I wanted to scream, to run. But where? This wasn't something I could outrun anymore. She didn't need a location. She needed a host. And I'd already been one. The question now was I still Ava Whitmore? Or had she only stepped aside until the next name was inked? I pulled out every photo from the album one by one. Burned them all. The air filled with a sweet, sticky scent. Like burnt flowers and old perfume. But the fire didn't stop the ink. Because even as I watched them curl into ash, a new photo slid out from under the album's back cover. I picked it up. My stomach dropped. It was Cassandra. But this time, she wasn't smiling. She was crying. Mascara running. Hands gripping the wedding dress like it was choking her. And standing beside her, a shadow. Not a person. Presence. Tall. Pale. Head tilted. The caption beneath it read, Midnight Rehearsal. One life out, one life in. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even sit down. Because I knew what I had to do. I had to find Cassandra. Stop the wedding. Break the cycle before the ring found her finger. But as I grabbed my keys, my phone buzzed. A message. No number. Just a sentence. She already said yes. You're just late to your own ending. I drove for hours. Faster than I should have. Every second felt like I was chasing time that had already run out. I didn't know Cassandra. Never spoken to her. But the look in her eyes in that photo. The desperation. The fear. It was the same hollow sinking I saw in myself. Just before I stopped recognizing my own reflection in my mind. And that message, she already said yes. That wasn't a warning. That was a sentence. I arrived at Rosehill Manor just before dusk. The sky was stained with that eerie, grayish gold light, like it couldn't decide between day and night. The gate was open, not in welcome, but like it had forgotten how to close. No guards, no cars, no laughter or last-minute wedding chaos. Just silence, and the faint sound of strings playing somewhere inside the house. That same wedding song again. Elegant, slow, off-key, like the melody had been played for far too long. Like the notes themselves were tired. The house towered above me, old, with paint peeling from the edges of the windows, vines crawling up the sides like veins. But something about it looked recently lived in. Chairs arranged neatly on the lawn, a table set for two by the rose garden. I walked slowly through the front doors. They didn't creak. They just opened. Too easily. Inside, white petals littered the ground. Candles flickered from every corner, casting shadows that reached too far. And on the grand staircase, a dress, not hung, not displayed, laid out, as if someone had been wearing it just minutes before, and disappeared. I called out, "Cassandra?" No reply, just more music, closer now, coming from the back of the manor. I followed it through the hallway, walls lined with photos of couples I didn't recognize. But one caught my eye, Ava Whitmore and Ryan Carter. Engaged, it read. 1989. My knees buckled. That photo should not exist. I wasn't even born then, but there we were, smiling, and I was wearing the ring. I stumbled backward, heart racing. How many versions of me had she worn? How many names had she rewritten? I kept going, because I knew what I'd see if I stopped. My own life unraveling backwards. At the end of the hallway, I reached a door cracked open. Inside, candles formed a circle around a single chair. And in that chair, Cassandra. I shut, hands bound loosely with white silk. She wasn't struggling. She wasn't crying. She was whispering, "Do you take her? Do you take her? Do you take her?" Over and over and over. I rushed to her, shook her shoulders. "Cassandra, wake up. You don't have to say yes." Her eyes fluttered open, and she smiled. But it wasn't a smile of relief. "You're here," she said. "You always come right before the rehearsal ends." "What?" I asked, voice cracking. "I've never been here before." She tilted her head slowly. "You don't remember the others, do you?" She stood, untying the silk herself. Walked to the small vanity at the back of the room. On it, the album. The same one I burned. Only it wasn't burned. It was perfect. And the first page? My wedding. With her in the background. Then another. And another. Each time she was closer. Until the last image. She was the bride. And I was the guest. Silent. Watching. Like I'd already surrendered. Cassandra held the ring in her palm. "I found it yesterday," she said softly. "In my mailbox. No note. Just the ring. I didn't know what it was. But I felt drawn." I took a step forward. "You have to destroy it." She nodded. "I tried. But it doesn't want to burn. Doesn't want to break." Then she looked up at me, eyes glassy. "Ava, I don't think it's the ring anymore." She pressed her hand to her chest. "I think it's me." Suddenly the lights dimmed, and a voice filled the room. Warm, sweet, familiar. "The ring is just the door. The heart is the home." Cassandra's face went blank. Her body swayed. "No!" I screamed, grabbing her shoulders. "Fight her. It's not too late." But she was already whispering again. "I do. I do. I do." I pulled the ring from her hand and threw it to the floor. It didn't bounce. Didn't move. It just vanished. And then, the house shook. The candles blew out in unison. A gust of cold air spun around us like a breath that had been held for centuries, finally released. When the shaking stopped, Cassandra collapsed. But she was breathing, still herself. She opened her eyes, looked at me. "I almost let her in," she whispered. But she wasn't strong enough this time. I helped her to her feet. And as we walked out of that house, The sky above us turned gold. For the first time in what felt like lifetimes, the music had stopped. Back at my apartment, I opened my phone. No photos, no ring, no album. Just one new message from an unlisted number. 2 said yes. 1 remembered first. Next time you won't. I thought walking out of Rosehill Manor would be the end. I thought helping Cassandra resist meant we'd broken the chain. That Elise, whatever she truly was, would finally fade into the background of forgotten horror. But evil doesn't disappear when it's denied. It waits. It rewrites. And this time, it chose to rewrite me. First, it was small things. My handwriting changed. Subtle curves, loops I didn't remember learning. I told myself I was tired, traumatized, grieving the versions of myself I had shed to survive her. Then my voicemail changed. Not the message I left. The voice that played it. Hi, this is Ava. I'm not available right now. But I said yes. Didn't I? I never recorded that. Never said those words. But every time I deleted it, it came back. Like it was etched in memory, not audio. I turned off my phone. Tossed it in a drawer. But the bleed kept spreading. Old emails resent themselves. Photos I deleted months ago reappeared in my cloud drive. Each one slightly wrong. In one, I'm smiling. But my hands are too pale. The fingers too long. Like I'm wearing someone else's body. In another, there's a woman behind me. Almost out of frame. Blurry. Hair braided, face down. But her dress white. Always white. I visited Cassandra to check on her. She greeted me at the door like I was a stranger. Do I know you? She asked. You said you'd call about the catering order? I stared at her. Speechless. She didn't remember Rosehill. Didn't remember the ring. Didn't remember me. And on her hand, no ring. No mark. Just a soft, ordinary engagement band. Plain gold. No inscription. It was like none of it ever happened. Back home, I sat in the dark. If she forgot, why didn't I? Why was I still haunted? Still unraveling? Then the album returned. Not at my door this time. It was on my pillow. Open to a page I'd never seen before. A photo. A woman, pale skin, dark hair, blood-red lipstick. Familiar. Too familiar. It was my mother. Young. And she was wearing the ring. I flipped the page. Next photo, me. 6 years old. Wearing a lace veil like a child playing dress-up. But in the corner of the photo, barely visible, was a hand resting on my shoulder. A woman's hand, with long nails, and an old gold band around the finger. The inscription, barely legible but clear, "Forever begins in the ones who forget." I dropped the album. It landed face down, but the lights flickered, and a soft hum began rising in the room. Not music this time. A voice. Feminine. Gentle. Cruel. You didn't break the vow, Ava. You became the vow. I backed away, clutched my chest, because suddenly it all made sense. I never stopped the curse. I contained it. She didn't need to keep passing the ring. She found a better vessel. Memory. She buried herself in what we forgot. In the gaps. The dreams. The maybe it didn't happen moments. I screamed into the silence. Why me? Why keep coming back to me? And the answer came not in words but in understanding. Because I remembered. Because I never stopped trying to stop her. Because I was the only one who kept dragging the truth into the light. And she hated that. Because the light kills legends. But only if someone keeps shining it. So she rewrote me. Made me the storyteller. The carrier. Not the victim. Not the hero. The archive. I tried to burn the album one last time. Poured gasoline over it. Lit the match. But it wouldn't burn. Instead, the flames turned cold. Blue and silent. And the album remained untouched. Then a final photo appeared. Fresh ink sliding into place. It was a picture of me. Holding a pen. Writing. Caption. She told their stories. Now she belongs to them. And that's when I knew. I had never escaped. This story doesn't end with death. It ends with echoes. Echoes that live in every yes whispered in fear. Every bride who feels watched. Every woman who looks at her engagement ring and wonders who wore it first. So I write this now, not to stop her, but to warn you. If you've seen the ring, if you've dreamed of a vow you never took, if you've felt yourself forget something that once mattered, don't ignore it. She works in the quiet. She feeds on the stories we silence. The ring was only the beginning. She's in the retelling now. And the more you remember me, the more you'll start to forget yourself. If you want more chilling true crime stories like this one, don't forget to subscribe to the Veil of Secrets.